You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I am back. Rodrance for Black and White Sports 2. Well, we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson. It seems that washed-up ESPN analyst RG3 has come out and made some comments responding to Ben Roethlisberger absolutely destroying Lamar Jackson the other day when it came to, well, the biggest gripe that anybody's got and why he doesn't have a massive contract. And that is pocket passing and the lack of it from the skill standpoint when it comes to Lamar Jackson. And I'm going to point out a couple of things here that pretty much renders RG3's argument mute, shitty. I don't know. You pick a word. I don't care. I've got J.R. Ewing in the house. He's with me. Also, make sure you follow us on Podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, Breaker, CastBox. Pretty much wherever fine podcasting is available. All the audio from all of our videos are available there. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill, guys. Let's go right now. Also, we're going to get to the fact that DeAndre Hopkins has come out and said what teams he will play for, question mark. What teams he won't, double question mark. And the fact that Lamar Jackson demanded 2 wide receivers. Okay. Let's get to RG3 calling out. This is SI.com. This is the All Steelers site. And then we'll get to Lamar and DeAndre in a moment. RG3 calls out former Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger over Lamar Jackson quote. Oh, my goodness. By the way, he praised him as an overall threat, but okay, that's fine. Former Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger sparked some controversy when he spoke about Lamar Jackson's situation during his podcast, Footballin'. It's a good podcast. It is available here on YouTube. Guys, go check that out. Now he's catching some heat from another former quarterback, Robert Griffin III. Roethlisberger originally said that Jackson wasn't much of a threat as a passer in the pocket. Okay? Let us make that clear. This is his quote. Quote, "You don't really fear Lamar's accuracy all the time. He's got a huge arm. He can make things happen when he scrambles, but you don't fear him just sitting in the pocket and picking you apart." That's a true statement. I mean, let's be real. Roethlisberger said you can bring the safeties down because you do fear him running because he's a different level of runner. So you fear that, so you bring the safeties down. But now if you've got Beckham on the outside, you better put that safety back or it's 1-on-1. You could just throw it to him. It definitely creates some potential opportunities for that offense for Lamar to run if he has to or take those big shots down the field if he needs to, if he brings the safeties down. His thoughts immediately traveling through social media, caught national outlets releasing clips of the future Hall of Famer talking about Jackson, future first ballot Hall of Famer. Should just bring that up. So, RG3 tweeted out this, Ben Roethlisberger, and his quotes. For example, Lamar's career passing and QBR in the pocket is better than Ben. This is what RG3 came out with. 97.9 in the pocket for Lamar, 94.2 for Big Ben. Career QBR, it's a trash stat, but okay. 64.9 Lamar, 63.4 Big Ben. Roethlisberger's thoughts likely didn't alter the contract negotiations between the Ravens and Jackson, but it didn't help the case by no means, and to RG3, it wasn't cool to call out the former rival. So, let us just understand something. Number one, Ben Roethlisberger has got this little thing called 2 Super Bowl championships, okay? He's also got 418 career throwing touchdowns and 64,000 yards. Ben is 80 games over 500. Now, this is something RG3 just failed to bring up. Roethlisberger came in the league in 2004. Now, from 2004 through about 2012, there were teams that still played what you might refer to as defense in the National Football League when it came to wide receivers, And actual hits were still given and put on quarterbacks in those days. Ben Roethlisberger didn't fully play in the completeness of what we're calling the passing era now. Yeah, passing had gone up already. It had. But the league hadn't fully changed yet. And wide receivers were still getting their heads knocked off going across the middle, at least through about 2009. Okay? So, Ben played a section of his career in a completely different kind of NFL when it came to the passing game. All right? Since about 2011 or 12 through now, yeah, it should be easier to put up passing stats, RG3. Not to mention, and I saw this out there floating around, somebody answered RG3, but Roethlisberger actually threw the ball about 10 more times a game than Lamar Jackson has. In fact, it's like, if you didn't know any better, but I think we do know actually what's going on there, Lamar has been protected by the Ravens from a passing standpoint because they know he can't accurately throw the ball in the pocket. Okay? So you got one quarterback that threw the ball 10 more times a game. Yeah, his stats aren't quite as good. With a much larger, he wasn't running the ball all the time. I mean, come on. Let's be honest here. There was a reason why the Steelers let Ben throw the ball that much, because he could throw the ball in the pocket. Now, Ben could roll out, and Ben had some escapability at one time, but he was not fast, and he was not a runner at all. RG3's point, I think, is ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. The idea of comparing Roethlisberger to Lamar, are you mental? You got to be kidding me. This is a guy that's going to fly into the Hall of Fame. I hate to break it to Lamar Jackson fans. Lamar is not headed to the Hall of Fame as of right now at all. All right? He's not. So I don't know. You've got an all-time great quarterback, and RG3 is legitimately trying to compare the stats between the two. You got to be kidding. It's ridiculous. So let's get to this next thing, because evidently Lamar Jackson gave the Ravens an ultimatum to trade for DeAndre Hopkins, and evidently the Ravens have said, no, that's probably not going to happen. He wanted them to get 2 wide receivers, Odell and DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I tend to believe Hopkins is more on the downtrend right now, but I think on a team like the Patriots, he'd be a great addition, right? I know people bang the drum for him up with the Jets. I think they got plenty of options with the Jets. Yes, would he be a good option for the Ravens? Maybe. But is Lamar going to be able to get the ball to Odell and to DeAndre Hopkins to the point that they're going to be satisfied? Again, one of Lamar Jackson's best friends in the world, Hollywood Brown, wanted out of Baltimore because of, you guessed it, Lamar Jackson's lack of passing prowess. All right? Hopkins has been on the trade market for months, and despite interest from several teams, the Cardinals have been unable to offload him. A lot of that's got to do with contract. Some believe their asking price is too high, while others don't believe Hopkins' mixture of age/contract is doing the team any favors. Absolutely. Regardless of the reasoning, Arizona still has possession of one of the top receivers in the league, and it appears he could be teaming up with one of the best top quarterbacks in the league. According to NFL insider Michael Lombardi, that is a former general manager, a guy that worked some 30 years in the league, Lamar Jackson has told the Baltimore Ravens to acquire both Odell Beckham, they got Odell, and Hopkins before he would continue contract negotiations. Well, that's not going to happen, Lamar. Quote, I was told reliably by somebody who's involved that Lamar told them in a conversation, get Hopkins, get Beckham, and then we can talk. The club went back to them and said, look, We can't get Hopkins. We can't get Beckham. We just can't afford both of them, but we'll get one of them, and they got Beckham. Lombardi said on his podcast, The Lombardi Line. DeAndre Hopkins is an interesting story, right? Hopkins is available, but the problem with DeAndre Hopkins is he would be great for Lamar, just not because he's got speed, but he's got exactly what Lamar needs. Somebody who he can throw the ball anywhere in his area. He's going to catch it. He's covered. He's always covered, but he always catches it. But he wants a raise. He wants more money. And so what I think the Ravens decided was, okay, we can get Beckham. And I think that's why you saw the overpayment of Beckham. And, of course, he got what could be upwards of $18 million when you include all the incentives. Now, Hopkins has come out and said the following. He did not name the Ravens here, okay? Now, I know there were other teams involved. I have not seen the clip, but he indicated specifically something about 4 destinations. This is, who is this? This is Florio, okay. He recently provided some unspoken clues as to the 4 possible destinations. From a video in the All Things Covered podcast, instructed to share opinion on joining a given team based solely on body language, Hopkins was asked about 4 teams. The Patriots, no. The Bills, yes. The Jets, no. Sorry, Aaron Rodgers. The Chiefs, yes. At this point, there's a chance nothing happens until the draft. It could take even longer if Hopkins is looking for a contract that nobody's willing to give him. He's due $19.45 million in 2023, $14.915 million in 2024. He has a cap number of $30.7 million for the Cardinals in 2023. Trading before June 1 creates a cap charge of $22.6. Trading him after June 1st splits the cap hit equally between 2023 and 2024. So I think that's what you could see is something after that June 1 deadline that ends up coming and going, right? If they're going to trade him, they're going to try to spread that cap hit from the... why would you do it beforehand? Unless you want the draft assets for this very draft. Now, I've heard it's going to be something in the neighborhood of like maybe 2 3s for DeAndre Hopkins or a 3 and a 6 or something like that. You're not getting a second, I don't think. You're not getting a first, all right? You may not even get that second pick, all right? You might just get a 3rd for DeAndre Hopkins. And I think a lot of people, especially considering age and salary, believe that. Now, they said we can only get Beckham. The other thing floating around out there is they're going to be one of the leading guys for one of these top receivers. The problem is, really and truly, and this is what the media does. All right? This is what the media does. The media elevated a bunch of wide receivers when now after the teams are starting to they're really starting to talk now, the teams are. All right? And you're seeing a lot of mock drafts being adjusted because there's teams saying there's only one first-round wide receiver, at least for a lot of teams. And by a lot of teams, I'm talking like 3/4 of them. And it's Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State. Everybody else, they got a second-round grade on. All right? Now, I would argue Zay Flowers. If I had a late-round first, I would take a look at him big time. If I'm the Patriots, I'm all over that guy. Unless you can get Jackson Smith and Jigba, which they might. All right? But the option there is many people believe the Ravens are going to look at these first-round receivers. So, anyway, I wanted to cover this because RG3, come on. Different era of passing for probably the first 8 to 10 years of Big Ben Roethlisberger's career. That in itself makes all the difference in the world. You're in a different passing era. Okay? They still played some defense back then. The quarterback still took some ugly hits back then. All right? It wasn't protect the quarterback. so much until you got around to about 2011, 2012. Some have argued that change has greatly hurt the NFL game. I tend to agree. I actually miss some of that defense. You got DeAndre Hopkins here saying he never named the Ravens. Now, maybe they asked him about the Ravens, but if they did, this was the important pieces that came out of the DeAndre Hopkins podcast. Those 4 specific teams, because those are the 4 teams that have had the most juice around Hopkins. Honestly, I hadn't heard that much about the Jets, but yes, the Chiefs, yes, the Bills, and definitely the Patriots. And he said no to the Patriots. So, sorry, Patriot fans. Sorry, Mac Jones. It looks like no DeAndre Hopkins because he may not want to play there. I don't know. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.